Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 5 O'Clock Hustle podcast. This is episode 16. Before I get into today's guest, I want to tell you about this awesome product you may have heard me mention in our previous Squadcast, and I'm talking about Qualia. And just because I love this product so much, I reached out to the makers of this amazing supplement at the Neurohacker Collective, and I was able to get you guys a discount so you can see for yourself how great this stuff really is. Qualia is the best product of its kind on the market, and with their blend of over 42 ingredients, they've helped people with energy, with mental function, and even their mood. I suffer from some brain fog from time to time, and when I heard that CEOs and biohackers and even Navy SEALs were taking this stuff, I had to give it a try. And when you do, I know you're going to love it, so go and try it out now, and make sure you use our promo code HUSTLE to save 10% off your order or 15% off a subscription. Okay, back to our guest. Yancy Culp has really become the go-to guy if you're looking for not just to compete in obstacle course racing, but to win. If you're familiar with Spartan Race or Tough Mudder, then you've probably already heard of him, but he coaches some of the top names in the sport. From fellow podcaster and all-around health and fitness guru Ben Greenfield to Spartan racer and American Ninja Warrior Rose Wetzel, Yancy has coached these pro athletes to greatness. Today, he talks to us about his fascinating journey from joining the Navy to managing a private airline business, and then finally leaving his corporate position to take his fitness side hustle, Yancy Camp, full-time. As an OCR nerd, I was really excited to hear about this episode, and I don't think it could have gone any better. So I'm going to stop right now because I'm just so excited for you to hear the show. So strap in, everybody, and get ready to be inspired. Keep hustling, and Dre, start the show.
98% of your athletic career, your business career, your career raising kids, 98% of it's going to be outside of the spotlight. Nobody watching, no fans cheering from you, no Friday night lights. It's just you and the grind. About 2% is going to be the Friday night lights, turning in the big paper, getting the promotion at work. That's the 2%. Forget about the 2%. Fall in love with the 98%.
5 o'clock hustle.
5 o'clock hustle, bro.
5 o'clock.
5 to 8, 5 to 12, 5 to 3 until you get back up the next morning.
Every week I got a new idea.
And that's what it always is, right? It's crazy.
5 o'clock.
I was doing that in 2005, but everybody thought it was weird.
5 o'clock.
Thus, the side hustle was created.
5 o'clock hustle podcast. Man, they're having so much fun.
I detect a southern twang to your voice, man. Where are you from?
Well, we are, when I finish this beer, it may be worse. As I said earlier, it's Monday night. I normally don't do a podcast Monday night at 10:30 p.m. my time, so I'm having a beer. But no, I grew up in north central Texas. I was actually born in British Columbia.
Oh, okay.
But I lived there for a few months and came back down with my folks. And I spent from 1-year-old till 21-year-old to all in Texas. For most of my childhood and up to my 20s was all in Texas. So, yeah, I was in California for about 10 years. I spent some time in Virginia, around the country, but there's some deep Texas roots, man. So there's definitely an accent.
Yes, sir, man. I can detect the Texas accent from a mile away. I'm a Houstonian myself, so
yeah.
And I lived in Austin for a good amount of time, for probably on and off 5 to 6 years. So I'm very well acclimated with that. I left Texas at a young age though, so did my accent, unfortunately. But when I go back home every now and then, I'll get it back. It just kind of comes. If I'm there for like a week or more, it'll come back.
Well, the fact that you brought that up without me even realizing, I'm probably going to subconsciously now try to bring it in a little deeper.
I'm good, man. I'm good with it. Let's do it.
By the end of this, Dre's going to be twanging all over the place.
Exactly. I'm having a beer too, so we're going to be having a twang off, man.
Well, Yancy, why don't we start off talking about what you're doing currently, and then we can kind of dial back and then say, talk about how you came to do what you do today.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Can we do that backwards.
Well, yeah,
actually,
but
why don't we talk about the upbringing? Let's take a quick.
Absolutely, but just Yancy Camp. Is that your core business currently?
Right now, I have yancycamp.com going. We're coming up on 3 years. I work with a company called Human to the Power of N. They make products like Beat Elite and various other products. I do a bunch of different things with them. They're an absolute huge part of my family. It's a way for me to generate revenue, but it's also just a huge part of my family. They're an absolute epic company. I'm a master's coach for Power Systems, which is one of the largest fitness equipment distributors on the planet. I do a lot of work for them, motivational speaking, group talks, large group coaching at fitness conventions, trade shows, do a lot of media work with them and product promotion, all kinds of cool, fun stuff with them. It's just an absolute epic, fun job. I work with Alpha Warrior, get the opportunity to travel around the country this year, working with the Air Force, Army, sailors and Marines, helping change the fitness culture in the military. It would take an hour for me to go deep into that, all the epicness that we have going on there. But long story short, as a veteran myself, I'm having here in my 40s, I now have this great opportunity to come back around full circle and serve our young soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines. So that's just an epic pinch myself as this real amazing opportunity.
You were in the Navy, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's incredible.
And I do.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I do some work with. I own a couple products. I shouldn't say own. I helped bring a couple products to fruition. Myself and good friend Chad Leith and business partner Jalen Plunkett own demonsled.com. We have a piece of fitness equipment that we sell. We have that partner with Power Systems. I'm a inspirational officer for UntilLifeMakesSense.com. It's a lifestyle brand, and I'll forget a few things. I have
is that it?
He's like I can keep going all night. No,
I have this. I have one rule. I do not let myself take on anything that's going to pull me in full time. And I was in the corporate world for 18 years, so that was extremely full time. So now I'm in this great opportunity where it's, to a lot of people, it seems like, oh my gosh, he's got to be insanely busy. But I really and truly do not let myself get to where one thing is completely overwhelming me. So I get to network with people and love on people and do a bunch of different things and just work in many different fields. And I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like I have thousands of people in my network, and I love that. And when I was in the corporate world, I was not able to do that. So I'm really being able to live out my passion of just being a freaking, I guess it sounds kind of ridiculous, but just a social freaking butterfly, man. I love just hanging with people.
Well,
that's awesome, man.
You can definitely tell. I just from being exposed to a little bit a part of what you do through Yancy Camp. It's just so prevalent that you are just everywhere. And I see you on Spartan. I see you on Yancy Camp. I see you. I thought it was so crazy that you were just here in our hometown, just like 5 miles down the street doing this camp that I wish I could have gone to, but I didn't make it. But Dean, like you were saying before, like let's dial it back a little bit. And you were mentioning you were in the corporate world. So let's talk a little bit about the journey from getting from. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Dean.
I want to go a little deeper because we interview a lot of really interesting, really successful people in their own right, and you're way up there at the top, and it seems that a lot of their traits are built at a very young age for some of them, and then others are like, yeah, well, I didn't really start practicing humility or any of those important traits until I was like mid-20s something. So going back to your upbringing, how do you think that that kind of builds on your success now?
I had two wonderful parents. I had they're rock stars. I mean, they were middle class, I'd say lower middle class upbringing, but just a good, healthy, structured upbringing with two parents that, I mean, you can't say enough about. I have this deep passion in my heart to serve youth that don't have the structure that I had growing up, because not for a second am I going to pretend that, I had this struggle growing up, man. When I woke up in the morning, I had a mom and dad there for me to help me build not the perfect foundation, but this foundation that I always had a foundation to stand on that had, it was stable. And when you have that, there's a lot that you have, I've grown so much, man, and I've screwed up a lot, made a lot of mistakes, and it's been a roller coaster ride. But I always had that, and there's tons of, without getting too far off the Richter scale of my conversation, there's just tons of kids that don't have that, man, and I'm passionate about serving those type of kids, like a lot of us are, because it does create. You got to freaking wake up in the morning and tighten your freaking bootstraps up, because it's going to be a little rougher roller coaster ride for when you don't have that structure. So I give so much credit to my mom and my dad, who are still wonderful people in my life, and to building a network. They were big on, they were social people. They were big on building networks and having accountability partners. And I have tons of mentors and accountability partners in my life now that I lean on heavily. I let them lean on me, and I lean on them, and we're just that is so important. So to answer your question, my mom and dad, I give them so much credit.
That's great. And now you do so much influential work in the communities that you serve that it's, like you said, you appreciate that foundation that you started with, and you're creating that for other people. So that's really great. So with that foundation, I mean, we move on to, school and high school and college and everything. Were you always athletic? Were you a track star in the making and all the sports and everything?
I went to a small school in North Central Texas called Munster, Texas, which was really a great place to kind of shore up that foundation. Good, hardworking people in the town. But long story short, when you grow up in a small town, if you don't play every sport, in some cases you wouldn't have a team. So, I mean, I played football, ran track, powerlifting, and did just about everything I could do. And I was lucky enough to be a decent runner and get a track scholarship to the University of North Texas. I was a middle endurance runner. My best races from the time I was young to literally now at 46 years old, half mile, those type of 800 meters, 1600 meters in high school. Those are, kind of my wheelhouse events. I had pretty good speed, pretty good long distance abilities, but I always had a good combination of being real strong in the weight room, but also having good endurance. I could, most guys that would, I was a powerlifting champion in high school, and that normally doesn't translate to somebody that would get a track scholarship because of his 1600 meter time. So, I think that kind of ties into my decent ability out on the obstacle course racing circuit when I was late 30s, early 40s, when I was doing some decent stuff, was, just that kind of that well-rounded, not really great at anything, but strong, powerful, and had a decent engine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, so tell us about, you did all these really awesome things, with sports and everything. And that, when did you transition to joining the Navy?
So there's a little bit of ADD that I enjoy. I look at it as a positive in my life. And I was very blessed to have two parents that looked at it that way. They didn't, every doctor on the planet probably would have wanted to drug me, but they were just like, you're just a wild ass Indian, and we love you. And if whatever you want to do, you can do. And this is the no bullshit story. I was in college, and I said, I woke up one morning and said, I'm going to join the military today.
Wow.
And the day before, there was not, hey, you're going to join the military. I woke up. I remember telling my parents, hey, I'm going to join the military. And they're like, freaking awesome. Enjoy it. You're gonna crush it. And literally that evening I was in the military. There's a little more of a process to it, but that same day
crazy.
I was talking with the recruiters, and I scored really well on my ASVAB score, so I could pretty much go do what I wanted to do. And I was in Great Lakes, Illinois, not too much, a short time after that, and then bouncing around all over schools. I was a helicopter mechanic in the Navy. I think there was a brief period of time when I was going to move on and be a rock star helicopter mechanic. Wow, sure. I was super excited about that. I was a plane captain instructor in the Navy on the largest helicopter in the world, the H-53 Echo, and I four amazing years doing all kinds of great stuff, and I wouldn't change it for a second, man. I loved every day.
Wow, that's incredible.
I actually had kind of a similar I had a similar journey, although I didn't make it all the way. I had a similar feeling like I'm gonna join the military, and I was for some reason, being so close to the beach, I was like, I'll join the Coast Guard, and I ended up going through that whole process. I did the ASVABs, I went to MEPS, the medical processing, and I was there. And then I ended up going to the last person to sign the dotted line, and my recruiting officer who put my paperwork forgot to put my high school transcript in the package. And the scariest woman just takes me and rips the chair right out from under me and tells me about how I'm wasting her time and this and that, and we're going to have to reschedule. And for whatever reason, when I left that place, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go back to college. So that was my fun experience, and it definitely did. It kind of gave me a little awakening myself. But now that we're talking about you in the military, what was fitness like in the military?
So I went in and really, I was in really good shape. I was running in college. I was very fit, still very active in the weight room. I just loved all things fitness. So I went in very fit. So what happened was in a short period of time, once I found my first duty station at Naval Air Station Alameda, mm-hmm. I was tagged as for lack of better terms, the athletic guy that was in charge of, they kind of put me in a coaching role, helping everybody get ready for their 6-month PRTs that come up every 6 months. Your push-ups, sit-ups, your mile-and-a-half run, and a lot of people in the military, all branches, struggle with those PRTs. So I was in charge of kind of helping some of our people get their butts in shape. So nice. That's when that was like my first taste of coaching, and wow. I really enjoyed that. So I've through multiple podcasts, I've kind of had to weave myself back to, okay, where did that really start? And I think that was when the first, kind of unique situation occurred where I was like, man, I really like this.
Sure. That's really cool. So
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you were saying earlier how you teach kids who, don't necessarily have the same foundation that you kind of grew up in, and don't have that necessarily like regimented or whatever it may be. Is that come from your military experience and also from your parents, upbringing you that way? And like you said, you kind of having a little bit of that freedom to do what you want, but then also having that structure and foundation to kind of keep you on the right track.
Like spring break, no rules.
Yeah.
Well, I've worked my butt off, but I've also, I was also, I don't want to say lucky, because it's not luck. I had parents that worked their butt off and provided for my sister and I.
It was instilled in you, yeah.
And I worked my if I walk into a room of 1,000 people, I can stand up on the podium and say, hey, there's one thing for sure. There's not I will not be the smartest person in the room, but I can tell you right now that there's not a single person in this room that will outwork me, and I will end up leading something eventually. I might not be the ultimate leader, but I'll be a damn good assistant leader to whoever's leading the whole show. So long story short, through hard work and determination, I've been able to open up a lot of doors for myself. And I see young kids that didn't have that early foundation possibly that I had, or even kids that did. It's a slippery slope. And with, a few things can go haywire, and those kids can find themselves in a bad situation. And I just love, I have the wonderful opportunity to work with a lot of middle school and high school kids in the local community here at Cedar Park with training the sports programs. I've been working with the football team here for about 10 years and various other athletes in various sports and college kids as well. And it's just, you guys might feel the same way, but I remember specific things and moments in time when an adult took some really, he literally paused his life or her life for a bit, and they talked to me with great purpose and passion. Mm-hmm. And it might have just been a 30-second talk or a 10-minute talk, but and I remember specific when people really engaged with me. Yeah, I remember it, man. And that's like, that is crazy impactful. So I try, if I'm doing a motivational speak at a graduation, or if I'm having a one-on-one with a kid, I want to give them that. I want them to remember me 20, 30 years from now, and to where maybe they're in an interview or maybe they're in a challenging situation and they need to hit that freaking pause button and say, how should I handle this right now? Mm-hmm. Maybe something that I said or somebody else said to them is going to alter their decision, and they're going to take the right path, or they're going to decide to climb over that obstacle. They're going to decide to say yes to that challenge versus walking away from it or running away from it. They're going to allow themselves to be a rookie. They're going to allow themselves to get out of their comfort zone. They're going to allow themselves to make a very good decision to avoid a disastrous situation. So long story short, that's, I when I have the opportunities, I just get crazy geeked up excited about the fact that maybe I can be that person, because I could give you names of specific people that spent the time to serve me. And we have those opportunities every freaking day.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's hundreds of them right in front of us, and sometimes we just we miss them. Every one of us miss them sometimes, but the more we can stay focused and engaged, we'll catch more of those opportunities. And it's amazing what you can accomplish in just 1 minute of your day if you're present about if you pause and look what's going on around you and say, am I missing something right now? Am I missing an amazing opportunity? And oftentimes we are. So developing the ability to hit that pause button and look around can just be pure magic for yourself and the people that you have to serve. And hopefully somebody in our lives are also doing the same for us. And it just kind of creates a little bit of harmony, and a lot of wonderful acts of service kind of start to happen, and good things come from that.
That's great. That's really at the core of what, why we do this podcast is to we create these moments for ourselves. It's a little bit selfish, but we also, it's really about trying to get this community together of people just learning and just not being afraid to ask questions, and then just growing from that side, and then encouraging the idea of mentorship, which is, it's kind of making a comeback now.
It's like a reoccurring
but
theme
for a long time there wasn't a whole lot of that, and I think you are definitely one of the people who is such a massive resource on so many different levels, and you can just see that in everything you do.
Yeah. And Yancy, as you speak, I hear one of the questions that I have for you is, you are known as this elite coach of people that master the industry that you're a part of, and you're teaching them that, and you're teaching them the different traits. One of the traits that I hear a lot about you is selflessness, and you just, you personify that. So what do you think are some other necessary traits for an elite coach to have?
You have to, I put the mental health. I want each one of my athletes on the Yancy Camp roster, and 500, 600 athletes that are in 18 countries that are on the Yancy Camp team, mm-hmm. teamed with one of those 17 athletes on the Yancy Camp roster. I want them to know that actually before fitness, above the workout that I just programmed them, is that I really care for them as a person, and I want to I'll just through messaging with my clients a lot, I find myself telling them how important their mental health is, how important having peace in their life is so important, about making the right decision for your family. For 99% of the people that race that aren't doing it full time as a career, that's most of us, that like literally trying to coach them on how to be the best husband or a good mom, a good wife, a good dad, a good family member, a good coworker, just having total peace with everything that makes up your life. I don't shove that down anybody's. I don't push that on anybody. I want to graciously put bits and pieces of that out there so they realize that that's extremely important to me. I'm failing forward daily. I don't get it right all the time, but it's something that's very passionate. My wife and I want to be mentors to the community. We want our kids to grow. We invest 18 years into our kids, so hopefully, we can be proud of their actions down the road. And it's just this snowball effect, and it can turn into beautiful things. But I want them to realize that I care for them as humans. I'm not just somebody that can spit out great workouts for them. I'm a good coach, but I want to be a great mentor and accountability partner to them as a human.
Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, that it makes a lot of sense too, because you have to be happy and you have to have enjoyment in your life to enjoy some of the ancillary things, or however people use fitness. But in the same sense, you're talking to a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, and they're in good company with you, obviously. But it's equally as important in the workplace, in your job, in your career, in your side hustle, if you will, that you're having fun, that you're enjoying, that you're at peace with yourself, that you don't just, if someone's coaching a business person, they really need to, their fitness, their mental fitness is just as important as their results. Even if they're results oriented, they need to make sure that they, as Greg Monterosa said, put your own mask on first. When the airplane's falling, they always say, put your own mask on first, and then, support those around you. But it's a lot about, you have to be happy in yourself and in what you're doing. So that's great advice. And hopefully, I'm sure you do a great job at making sure that everyone knows that's in the Yancy Camp.
Well, it's a lot of fun to watch people and read people and work with different people and people that are, I guess, for lack of better terms, uniquely successful. And, I work with a couple brilliant CEOs and good friends of mine that own companies, and just have people in my life that, they can crunch a mean spreadsheet, they can run budgets, they know how to manage this and that. But at the end of the day, what they're really, really good at is, I really like to summarize it as hitting the pause button and being extremely, extremely present in the moment. At a certain point in your career, you get to the point where I call it, in the corporate world, we call it the 80-20 rule, or at least some do. My HR director called it, where 80% of my time now needs to be spent loving on the people that I come in contact with, and just moving around and massaging everything. If I find myself stuck somewhere, if 21% of my time or more is like stuck crunching something on my laptop or whatever, now I would, in my world now, I would throw in my 80%. Like, I get to spend a lot of time loving on people through private messaging, emails, text messaging, phone calls. That's part of my 80%. That's got to be in my 80%. If that gets shifted, then I'm not doing my job the way I need to be doing it. And you look at successful people, successful CEOs, successful leaders, successful managers, frontline managers, all levels of management. If it's about your people, I mean, the janitor, the assistant janitor has got to be looked at as equally as important as the highest ranking person in my company or anybody else's company. Or that's, if you will walk into your day each day with that type of focus on your team, then you cannot fail. Your business is going to find a way to be successful because there's going to be so many people that just, I mean, you're literally going to have all these, for lack of better terms, low-level people holding you up, and they would do anything for you because they genuinely feel that you care for them. And that gets lost a lot in the political world, the work world, the family world, the cul-de-sac world, the community, all around, man. It gets lost, and we don't. So many people lose the ability to be selfless and love on others and respect nothing in return.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's huge. That, I've written a lot of articles about bringing things back to the human level and making sure you appreciate each piece of the machine is just as important as the next. Doesn't matter how big or small it is. It's all about, we're all human, and we should all support each other, and we should all love each other. And you, man, you're a wonderful preacher of that, and in your actions too.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yancy, you mentioned the corporate world, and I don't want our listeners, because a lot of them are trying to start businesses and things of that sort. And we talked on the phone when we first started to talk about having you on the show, and you told me about your transition between the corporate world and what you do today. So could you run us through that?
Man, I had some people work their whole life to find one job that they love. I had two. My corporate job was so ridiculously cool and fun compared to most corporate jobs. So a lot of people don't even know what the heck it is. You just don't realize this world exists. Some people don't realize it. So I managed what are called FBOs, fixed based operations. So anywhere there's a big, any big city or even mid-sized cities, they'll have an international airport or multiple international airports. Well, on those airports are private airports where in Austin, the Lance Armstrongs, the Sandra Bullocks, the Dennis Quaid's, the politicians, out where you guys live. In Hollywood, there's 5 or 6 big-time FBOs where the actors, musicians, politicians, sports stars, all major cities have these people that can basically afford, to summarize it, that can afford to fly around in $10, $15 million jets. That's what I managed. So the hangar space for their aircraft, fueling their aircraft, little things as simple as, managing limo services and catering services. The Beastie Boys come in and you're freaking, you're making sure their $10,000 sushi order makes it out on their airplane. You're making sure the limo gets pulled up the moment, if George Bush or Bill Clinton's flying in, you're managing that kind of stuff. Wow. And when Sandra Bullock comes in, her valet car is pulled up the moment the airplane doors open. You're doing this, and then you're putting $75,000 worth of fuel on her aircraft, and then she leaves the next day. That was that world. I could go for an hour about. I know actors, musicians, politicians, sports stars. I know the ones that are assholes or super cool people, and everything in between. Man, I've dealt with all of them behind the scenes, and it's a crazy fun world. So I literally had, and on top of that, I was moonlighting in the fitness business for many, many years, running boot camps and coaching people. But it was a hard thing to step away from because it was fun. It was, for a person that's just a live wire personality, put me in some accounting role behind a desk with a door closed, and I'd want to shoot myself. I need to be out there in the mix, and it plugged me in. It fed that ADD type personality, and it was perfect for me. You had so much going on. In 11 or 17, 18 years in the corporate world, in that world, there was never 2 days in a row that were anywhere near the same. There was always something different going on, and it was amazing. And learned so much from those times and built great networks and
was it the
learned
one
a
off
ton
of was it the one off of 130 out there on the toll? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I was at Austin Bergstrom International Airport at Atlantic Aviation. The one off I-30 is our right about 2 years before I got out of the business. That airport popped up as one of our competitors.
Okay, gotcha.
And you know, like I said, most major cities will have multiple FBOs. We had Michael Dell and just, you know, Lance and so in just basically any city that, you know, people that where time is money and you have the money to spend. You know, I mean, you got to realize if you have a flight at 8 a.m, you're going to leave your house at 7:45 and you're going to pull up at 7:59 and you're in the air at 8:01. That's
yeah, time is money,
I mean,
baby.
And you're in New York 2 hours and 45 minutes later, and you're home after whatever you did to pick your kids up from school. That's possible in that world. So, that's why that world is actually happens.
So why'd you leave?
So I was passionately involved in fitness, loved all things fitness, have been the entire time I was in the corporate world. And, you know, there was a level of security there for my family. And my wife, who is the sports performance dietitian for the University of Texas Athletic Department, she takes care of about 600 athletes in all the sports and works with all the hey, yeah, that's right, man, all the coaching staffs. And so she was doing that as a contract employee while she was also running her private practice. And then she became full-time. And all of a sudden now she gets a full-time opportunity, and I'm in this perfect situation to bail out and dive in headfirst in fitness even more than I was. I mean, there was for years I would get up, I would do a boot camp at 5:30 in the morning, work, and then do a boot camp in the evening. I did that Monday through Thursday for years.
Wow.
And then coaching large group, you know, 100 football kids on a Saturday, and then I work out on a Sunday. I mean, I loved fitness. I built a fitness career while managing in that world. So my wife gets the awesome opportunity, the great insurance, the great stability, and I bailed out and dove into fitness full time.
That's crazy. I need to find one of those 5:30 a.m. boot camps. maybe you can tell Richard to move his Tuesday workouts a couple hours earlier. Well, yeah, it seems like a crazy journey, and you know, you had this awesome opportunity in the corporate world, and you transitioned to this really, it's just a young business, you know, and I'm specifically talking about not necessarily the coaching, but just the obstacle course racing as a whole. And,
yeah, man.
And you kind of found this niche. I'll call it a niche because it is a niche. You know, it's still a very young sport, and there's so much opportunity and so much potential growth for the sport. And you're starting to get more heavily involved with. You're kind of one of the more definitive people in obstacle course racing, absolutely. But
yeah, and you ran all the races.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
there's that, and then you know you're working with Power Systems, and you're working on with this new partnership with Spartan Race this year. Can you go into that a little bit?
So obstacle course racing is arguably the largest fitness movement the world's ever seen. I would debate that with anybody. I don't know. I've yet to have anybody argue with me and say no. I'm going to tell you something that's bigger. So yeah, it's been an epic ride, but the Power Systems deal is I was able to work with, became good friends with Joe DeSena. 2013, I did, I finished the 72-hour death race, and
oh my gosh,
we found ourselves 45 hours into this. We're on the side of a mountain, and he's dishing out punishment, and we're talking business. And it was the it was the coolest thing. We've stayed closely connected ever since, and we were through Joe and just, you know, a couple months of wheeling and dealing, we were able to broker a 3-year deal between Power Systems and and Spartan, and there's some really fun stuff coming over the next 3 years with that. Some great fitness equipment co-branding situations, and there's a lot of neat stuff. It's a phenomenal fit. Sometimes the sponsorship, I mean, nothing against something like a Yokohama tire, but Yokohama, but a fitness equipment, one of the largest fitness equipment distributors in the world, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool. I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna go out and buy four Yokohama tires now.
I'm sorry, Joe.
But anyway, you get my point. It was just a perfect fit, and it's funny. I find myself every day. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got 17 phone calls to make today, and there's all this meshing everything together. But the cool thing with everything I've got going on is I've been able to make it all kind of intertwined enough to where I'm introducing cool people to cool people, and things are working out, and fun brands that are ran by just good, honest, wholesome people are working together and marketing things and networking things together. And it's been an absolute blast, but really and truly, we are living in the middle of arguably the largest fitness movement that the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about 10 years ago, 99, I'm not going to throw that out there loosely, about 99% of every human that walked into a gym was walking into a gym to look better in a bathing suit, lose some weight, get back in their old pant size, look better in the mirror, and improve their health. That's the reason. Now we have millions and millions of people walking into a gym. I give this talk all across the country at different trade shows and conventions. They are walking into a gym for a different reason. They are preparing to go to battle out on course with all these obstacles in this brutal terrain. That's a game-changing – dude, that's game-changing.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in the corporate world, if I'd have rallied – because I did this. If I rallied 50 of my employees up to go – we would go do a 5K. Let me tell you something. The next day, there's not 27 people sitting around the water cooler on Monday talking about their 5K experience.
No.
Now,
that's a workout.
Millions of people across the world are talking about their damn race for 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing, it's a movement like no other, because you could say, CrossFit's a huge movement. It is. It's a massive movement, but there's only so many situations where you get to compete with these epic, larger-than-life people like a Matt Fraser or a Rich Froning or the Daughters. You get to go out on the same course with all of our there's a bunch of the Daughters. It's a little different. I mean, you can go watch the games, and you can compete in the open. But that large fitness movement, it's just a little different, You've got things like American Ninja Warrior where kids are out back hanging off of tree limbs and doing all kinds of fun, crazy stuff. But that's different. This OCR movement is changing the way we look at fitness. There are millions and millions of functional bodies out there today that were not in that situation 10 years ago because they didn't have the same reason to train. The training was basic. And I didn't have a reason to go to the gym and look at this Yancy Camp workout and say, oh my gosh, this is going to whip my butt, and I'm going to turn my body inside out and work every aspect of fitness, because that's what happens to me out on the obstacle course racing circuit. So, it's a really cool movement. Yeah. The fact that it hasn't plateaued, it just keeps the climb is really neat.
It's only been, it's only had its prevalence, like you said, for 10 to 15, but it's only been around since the 1990s. I mean, it's incredible how, like you're saying, it's transitioned into this just huge, unmeasurable movement, and it's just growing. I mean, it's growing by the second.
I lost you guys just for a second. Last 7 to 8 seconds.
All right. We can go back. No, I was just saying that it's crazy, like you're mentioning, that it had its start in the 1990s. Obstacle course racing, it really started in the 90s, and here we are 20 years later, and it's just had such a significant impact on everyone, and it keeps touching more and more lives. It's nuts.
Really and truly, 2011 was when the movement really took hold. So, so 7 years, that 7-year window, what has happened has been pretty amazing. There, you know, I did the Camp Pendleton Mud Run back in the 90s when I was stationed up there managing, at one time I was managing Camp Pendleton, Miramar, and El Centro as a civilian contractor, and I would do their mud run. But Spartan, Tough Mudder, Warrior Dash in 2011 really got this crazy, cool movement started. And it's a lot of, I mean, like I said, there's athletes making six figures. There's athletes training and racing full time, lots of them. Yeah. And that's pretty, it's kind of funny. The running community and other communities thought we were just going to kind of fade away. And that obviously didn't happen.
Well, you were mentioning before about the fitness with a purpose, and I kind of want to leave a couple of people who are actually trying to break into the fitness industry with a couple of tips, I guess. Because that is that the core really to what is going to be, you know, the movement when it comes to building a fitness business is, you know, giving people something more than just looks, I guess.
Yeah, if you're not, here's the deal with that. If you're not, fitness is an industry that you cannot fake it. Well, you can fake it, but if you are not ridiculously geeked up about, if you're a personal trainer, if you're a group instructor, if you are, I don't care. I don't care where you coach, where you are a fitness trainer. If you don't get stupid geeked up excited about the workout that you're preparing, you're creating, the people, the large group, the small group, the single individual you're getting ready to serve, then it is the one industry where you really need to evaluate, do you need to be in this industry? Because it's not going to work for you full time. It's so rewarding if you bring that type of attitude. And there's plenty of industries where you can kind of fake it, you can get by and be just fine, but it's the most personal level of service to humans that you'll ever. I mean, it's hard pressed to find, you know, teachers and coaches and just that constant daily face-to-face activity that you get to be engaged in with these people. You got to love it, man. Yeah. And I would say it's one of those careers, like certain other careers, where it's just not for about 95% of the people walking the planet. So you got it. That's the baseline question that you have to ask yourself. If you're 6 months in and you're dreading, like my first true job in fitness was a working the floor at the YMCA in San Diego, and then being a personal trainer at San Diego. And I was on top of the world. I was on top of the world, geeked out, couldn't wait to get there. I look back at that now, I was like, oh my gosh. But that's what I'm talking about. If when you're first getting into the career, you know, you're going to have jobs that just, you're not going to start out up here. You got to fall in love with it and be in love with it. And if that you're 6 months in and you're struggling, man, you need to freaking run for the hills because it's not going to work for you.
Yeah, and that applies to the business world so heavily, and to everyone that, you know, that is listening. It's like we want people to follow their passions, and like you said, you know, you're going to fall down sometimes. You're going to have a really hard time. You're going to get kicked in the balls. I mean, go ahead.
I think there's a little different. I mean, I don't want to make fitness seem all so special, but it's a little different.
Okay.
I mean, when I was working construction, me personally, this is tough, but I'll tell you right now, it's like when I walk into a room of 1,000 people, nobody's going to outwork me. You're also not going to be able to put me into any career or any. If you put me digging ditches somewhere, I am going to enjoy my day. I'm going to enjoy my day, and I'm going to try to help other people enjoy their day. So that's just my personality, man. I refuse to walk out of my house until I have that attitude nailed down. But
that's huge.
Kick that aside. There are some careers where you just got to go in and just grind. You got to freaking grind. And I can understand why the average person is not going to say, "Oh my God, this is so much fun." But you can still do a good job, but that's going to be hard in fitness. That's going to be hard to have any kind of success at all in fitness if you don't really, really enjoy it. So I'm actually like, I'll talk to kids, we tell kids, oh, you got to make sure you're doing what you're doing. I'll back off that a little bit and say, hey man, it's perfectly okay to you got to grind a little bit. You may not always be doing exactly what you were doing. My corporate job could have been a job that I didn't truly passionately love. It was so much fun, but there's a fine line we walk there with our youth. I think so many of them are, they graduate. It's like, man, I got to have a 6-month sabbatical and go travel the world. It's like, no, really, you don't. You don't have to. You might just need to get your butt engaged and go to freaking work. Okay. So there's a fine line there. Don't want to get off on a different subject, but
I hear you. Yeah.
I love working with the millennials, man. They're amazing. They're amazing people, and they get a bad rap sometimes, but us 40-somethings like me can mesh well with them, and we can do a lot of cool, fun stuff together.
Yeah,
that's great, man.
Yeah, there's that whole, the good days are going to be great, but it's your ability to push through the bad days is what's going to make the biggest difference, and I think that definitely goes for any industry. Yeah. But
I'll tell you something. You never ever blame somebody else for your lack of growth.
Love that.
It's very common for people to want to blame other people for their lack of growth. And there are people that were
biceps.
there were people that had greater opportunities than me growing up. And there were many people that had way less opportunities for me. Wherever we are, some of the happiest people I know are homeless people. And once you start taking the attitudes, like, I'm not going to blame anybody today. What can I make of my life today? What can I do today to dominate my day? I do. The one thing I know is I have today. And what can I do to dominate the day to day? That comes from Brian Kane, a mental conditioning coach in the sports world. He's an amazing mental conditioning coach, and I always love to give credit for where credit is due. And went to one of his seminars and learned that from him. And as he says, man, you don't let your feet hit the floor until you're ready to dominate the day. And that's very important.
Yeah, that's excellent. And Yancy, that's a really good send-off point that we can give to, that you've given to us and that we can give to our listeners. And again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a trip getting you on, but we finally did it. And, I just want to say thank you for everything you do. I'm gonna be joining Yancy Camp again, but before we let you go, is there anything else that you want to just impart to our listeners? Just one last coaching thing that you can give to us.
And give me some twang on it. Give me some Texas twang on it too.
Some twang. All right, here's the deal. Doesn't matter if it's in athletics or in life at the home or in the workplace. 98% of your athletic career, your business career, your career raising kids, 98% of it's going to be outside of the spotlight. Nobody watching, no fans cheering from you, no Friday night lights. It's just you and the grind. About 2% is going to be the Friday night lights, turning in the big paper, getting the promotion at work, your kids graduating high school and they're kicking butt and taking names. You get to see them do something special. That's the 2%. You forget about the 2%. Fall in love with the 98%, and it will when you allow yourself to do that and you immerse yourself and engage yourself in the 98% when nobody's watching, when there is no spotlight and you're just grinding. If you allow that to happen, man, it can be a game changer in life, I encourage everyone to really work on hitting the pause button 24/7. When you're awake, hit that pause button. At a certain point in time, after you get in the habit of doing it, you won't have to continue to remind yourself, but hit that pause button, look around. Is there an opportunity I have to serve someone? Do that, and I'll end with this one. This is not arguable. It's not debatable. There's 3 platforms in life. Every single one of you guys in this podcast, me, everybody we're in contact with every day, you spend most of your time on one of these 3 platforms. I'll summarize it real quick so we can get out of here. Platform A, you're a freaking rock star. You get up and you dominate the day. You kick ass. You take names. You serve others versus serving yourself. You have a positive attitude. You're just a freaking rock star. Platform C on the other side, I'll summarize it saying you're just a freaking pain in the ass. You cause trouble. You're just freaking pain in the ass. In the middle somewhere, you're just kind of the mediocrity. We'll summarize that one with mediocrity. Every one of us, every day, spend most of our time on one of those 3 platforms. And normally we have a choice on which one we want to stand on. If you're the janitor or you're the CEO, you have a choice to be on one of those freaking platforms. That's a decision that we can make. Make that decision work well for you. You know where you'd like to be. You know where you want to be. In most cases, you can get your butt on platform A and dominate the day. I could go into great detail. The platform talk takes an hour, but that's the 30-second rundown on that one.
Love it. Love it.
Rock and roll, man.
Yeah, man. Well, Yancy, where can people find you? Where should they go? And what's some current stuff that we can send people to?
At Yancy Culp on Instagram, at Yancy Culp on Twitter, Yancy Camp on Facebook, yancycamp.com for all things online OCR coaching, and my motivational blog that comes with had a lot of success with that, man. Every workout I launched, and most of them are preceded by a little motivational blog post, and that's doing very, very well. That's our yancycamp.com program, the OCR program. I'm with Power Systems. My wonderful sponsors are Power Systems, Human to the Power of N, unending.com, Alpha Warrior, Until Life Makes Sense, demonsled.com, and I know I'm forgetting some things, dang it, but if you ever, say if you ever need me, just freaking private message me and I'll love
on Instagram. It works. That's how I did it.
We're a testament to that. Yeah, and we'll throw all this at the bottom of the show notes too, just to make sure that everyone can access.
Yeah, you can find all those links and everything that Yancy was talking about, and all the information in the show notes on 5o'clockhustle.com/Yancy. That's YANCY. Yancy, so much thank you. Whoa, that's not a thing.
So much thank you.
So much thank you. Thanks, Yancy, for coming on the show. It was a blast.
Been a pleasure, man.
And I'm gonna get these guys signed up on Yancy Camp. So I'm really excited to hop back into those workouts because I got that racing Big Bear. It's a beast, and I'm not ready for it.
Hey guys, seriously, thank you so much for having me on. I'd love to meet you guys at a race, meet you out on course, and if you ever need anything, give me a shout, if it's in the OCR world or just life in general. And until we meet again, you guys drive fast and take chances, man.
Yes, sir. Yancy, are you going to Big Bear in May?
I will be. Let's see. I'm going to be at the URSA convention in San Diego late this month, and I'm going to be flying up to my next race. I'm not actually racing. I'll be at TMX in Sacramento. I'm going to have about 10, 11, 12 clients up there competing in TMX. I think my next big event will be Toughest Mudder Austin.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 8 hour, and then I'm not going to be able to race as much as I normally do this year because I'm just coaching and traveling and stuff with the military and Power Systems and Human and stuff. But I'm going to be going to about 20 military bases this year. So, but I'm going to get 4 or 5 races in, and I'll enjoy every second I get to get out there.
That's excellent. Oh, well, everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of the 5 O'Clock Hustle podcast. Again, remember to check out 5o'clockhustle.com/Yancy for everything that we talked about today and more. Yancy, thanks again for coming on the show, man. It was a pleasure.
Yep, thank you.
Take care, guys. Be good.
Take care.
Until next time, rock and roll.